You know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. How does a text that was revealed over 1,400 years ago, bit by bit over 2 decades, become the single unified book that more than a billion people read today? Well, that's exactly the story we're diving into, the incredible, careful, and divinely guided journey of the Quran's preservation.
And the whole story really starts right here with this promise. The Quran itself says that God would be its guardian. This verse is kind of like the thesis statement for everything that happens next. It's a divine promise, but one that was fulfilled through the tireless work of the Prophet's closest companions.
All right, so let's get into it. How was all this protected while it was actually happening? During those 23 years of prophecy, there was this brilliant system just humming along in the background to make sure not a single word was ever lost or changed.
And it was this genius two-part system. On one side, you had the Hafaz, the memorizers. These companions were literally living copies of the Quran. It was etched into their hearts. And on the other side, you had writing. The moment a verse came down, boom, scribes were there to write it down. So you've got this perfect check and balance system, right? The heart and the pen working together.
Now, this is what I find fascinating. We're not talking about books with spines and pages here. They used whatever they could find. Think about it. Stone tablets, pieces of leather, even shoulder blades from camels. So the entire Quran was written down, no doubt about it. But it was, scattered. All the pieces of the puzzle were there, just not in the same box yet.
Right. So that's the big question, isn't it? If everything was written down and memorized, it sounds like they had it covered. So why did they need to collect it all into one book? Well, a crisis was coming, and that crisis changed everything.
Shortly after the Prophet passed away, the community faced some really tough times. And one battle in particular, it set this huge shockwave through the leadership and created this sudden, urgent need to protect the Quran in a whole new way.
This is it, the Battle of Yamama. It was brutal, and a huge number of the Hufaz, the expert memorizers, were martyred. Suddenly, this wasn't a theoretical problem anymore. It was a real, tangible danger. What if more of these walking, talking Qurans were lost? You could actually lose parts of the revelation forever. The written stuff was safe, but the human guardians were at risk.
And this is how they responded. Your Hazrat Umar, who had this incredible foresight, seeing the danger, he goes straight to the Caliph, Abu Bakr, and says, "We have to do something." At first, Abu Bakr was hesitant. This was a huge deal, doing something the Prophet himself hadn't done. But he realized it was absolutely necessary, and they picked a perfect person for this massive task, Zayd ibn Thabit, who was one of the Prophet's main scribes.
Okay, so the mission is a go. And the way they carried it out, the level of detail and care is just mind-blowing. Let's break down how this monumental task, the first official collection of the Quran, was done.
So Zayd didn't just, grab all the parchments and stick them together. No way. The process was incredibly strict. He wouldn't accept a written verse unless at least 2 people could stand up and say, "Yes, I personally heard the Prophet recite that myself." He took every single written piece he could find and checked it against the memories of the community, piece by piece. Only then did it make it into the final collection, the first Mushaf.
And this master copy, this incredible result of all that work, was treated like the treasure it was. It was safeguarded by Abu Bakr. When he passed, it went to the next caliph, Omar, and after him, it was kept with his daughter Hafsa, who was not only the Prophet's wife, but also a memorizer of the Quran herself. It was in the safest possible hands.
So you'd think, okay, job done, right? They have the master copy, it's perfectly preserved, problem solved. But the story isn't over. A new challenge was just around the corner, and this time it wasn't about losing the text, it was about what happens when the community grows.
So fast forward to the time of the third caliph, Uthman. The Muslim world is expanding like crazy. We're talking North Africa, Central Asia, it's huge. But with that amazing growth came a problem that nobody really saw coming.
So you have all these new Muslims, right? From all over the world, with different accents and dialects. And as they're learning to recite the Quran, they're pronouncing some words a little differently. Now, the words were the same, but the sound was slightly different. And this started to cause some serious disagreements and confusion, even threatening their unity.
And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. You've got 2 different eras with 2 totally different challenges. In Abu Bakr's time, the problem was preservation, making sure the text itself wasn't lost. In Usman's time, the problem was standardization, making sure everyone was on the same page, literally, with how it was recited.
So Uthman saw this happening and knew he had to act. He initiated what would become the final, crucial step in the Quran's preservation, a step that would lock in its uniformity forever across the whole world.
And again, the process was super methodical. Uthman put together another committee, and guess who was leading it? Zayd ibn Sabit, of course. They went to Hafsa, got that original master copy, and used it as the one and only source. Then they made several exact copies from it. These became the official standard copies, and they were sent out to all the major centers of the Muslim world.
Now this next part was absolutely key. To avoid any future confusion, the community agreed to have all other personal, non-standard copies destroyed. Copies that might have had someone's notes in the margin or were written reflecting a local dialect. This move ensured that only one version, the official, standardized Uthmani text, would be used from that day forward. Total unity.
Okay, let's step back and look at the big picture. Why does all this history matter so much? Because this isn't just some cool historical story. The legacy of this process is absolutely profound. And this says it all. The result of everything we've talked about is one. Just one book. A Muslim in Indonesia and a Muslim in California are reading the exact same Arabic text that was finalized 1,400 years ago. No different versions, no revised editions. Just one.
And that's why this whole story is so central to the faith of a Muslim. The fact that the process was so public, so careful, so well documented. First to gather it all, then to standardize it. It gives believers this rock-solid confidence that the book in their hands today is the real deal, the authentic, unchanged Word of God.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. In our world today, which is so diverse and often so divided, how powerful is it that this one text, preserved with such incredible care all those centuries ago, still continues to unite over 1 billion people? It's really a testament to a promise made and a promise kept.